Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of My English Brain. Now, in today's episode, we are talking about phrasal verbs that use out. To start, let's take a look at some of these phrasal verbs that you're going to see today. For example, work out. He likes to work out at the gym. Next, go out. They like to go out and dance on the weekends. Next, pass out. She passed out from the hot weather. Next, block out. He blocked out what his friend was trying to tell him. Next, speak out. You need to speak out about things that you believe strongly in. Next, turn out. The cake didn't turn out the way she wanted it to. And the last one, find out. The detective is trying to find out who the criminal is. Now, I think you can see that all of these phrasal verbs have out as the common particle. But did you know that they use out in 7 different ways? And that's the topic of today's lesson. 7 ways to use out in phrasal verbs. Now remember, a phrasal verb is a verb and a particle. A particle is basically just a preposition. For example, in, out, up, down, off, on, all of these are particles that we use, but today's video is focusing on phrasal verbs that use out as the particle. Now, the first main reason we use out is to talk about going or to be outside of a confined space. When we use out, we really have to define that there is a container. There is something that is inside. And when we use out, we are really emphasizing the idea of going outside of that container. We can see this with the first phrasal verb, go out. Go out really emphasizes the idea that you are leaving your home, but specifically with the idea of going to have a good time outside of your home. For example, I went out with some friends last night. We went to my favorite dance club. This is the idea that I leave my home to do something fun. What do you like to go out and do on the weekends with your friends? Next up is the phrasal verb get out. Get out means to leave from an inside area, but specifically it means leaving an inside area where you are being kept or you're trying to keep something. So for example, he got out of jail after 10 years of being behind bars. Now again, the idea is that he did not escape, but they were keeping him in the prison until he gets out of the prison. We can see this in the next example too. I don't know how my dog keeps getting out of the yard. I'm trying to keep my dog in the yard, but he always finds a way to get out. Next up, take out. Take out means to remove from being inside. For example, his wife asked him to take out the garbage or take out the trash. The idea is that the trash is inside the home, and when it's full, you need to take it out. Next up, break out. Break out means to escape or to emerge. In this example, we can say, nobody knows how the prisoners broke out of the prison. The idea is that the prisoners escaped from the prison. They broke out of the prison. We can also see this in the example of our skin and our complexion. For example, I hate it when my face breaks out with pimples. The idea is that the pimples are inside of the skin waiting to emerge or waiting to explode out of my face. So we say that when I have a breakout, I have bad acne, I have bad pimples. We also use breakout when we talk about a virus or some type of a disease that goes into the population. For example, the virus broke out in December of 2020. The second reason that we use out is to talk about discovering something or to gain knowledge about something. The idea is that when something is not in my mind, it's not in my brain, it's outside of my knowledge. We use these types of phrases to say that we don't know about something. For example, when I say something is out of my knowledge, it means that I don't understand it or I don't know about it. Or if I do know about something but I don't want to know about it, it's a negative thought or a negative feeling I have in my mind, I can say I want to get it out of my head. So, when we use out in a phrasal verb, it usually means there is some sort of information out in the world that I need to find, that I need to make a part of my knowledge. We can see this with the very common phrasal verb find out. Find out means to discover and to get information. For example, the police found out the murderer was the neighbor when they found his DNA on the victim. Again, the idea is that the police are investigating. They are collecting information and collecting evidence because they need to find out who is the murderer. We can use this in other ways too. For example, can you go online and find out what time the movie starts tonight? The idea is that you need to investigate and research to collect that information. You find out that information. We also use this with figure out. Now, a figure is a number, so when I say figure out, it's like I am trying to find an answer or solve a problem, almost like a math problem. So in this context, I can say, he is trying to figure out how much money he can spend until he gets paid at the end of the month. Again, the idea is that it's a difficult problem or a difficult answer to find, and he's thinking about it. He is figuring it out. Next up, check out. Check out means to look at very closely or to watch something. So in the example, he checked out the beautiful woman in the restaurant. This means that he looks very closely at her or he watches her from across the restaurant. We can also use it this way. You should check out the new crime series on Netflix. It's really good. The idea is that I'm telling you to check it out means I want you to go watch it, or I want you to take a look at it to see what you think. The third reason that we use out in phrasal verbs is to indicate someone is outside of a normal mind. If you're outside of a normal mind, then you're not thinking normally, or you're not thinking clearly. We can see these in these two examples. If you tell someone that they are out of their mind, you are out of your mind, that means that you are crazy, or that you are not thinking like a normal person. Or if you say that someone is living in outer space, that means that they're not really living in reality. They are not understanding reality. We can see this in the first phrasal verb, freak out. Now, a freak is basically a person that is not normal, a person that is not like other people. So, when we use it as a verb, freak out, it means that you have an extreme emotion, or an emotion that is not normal. For example, extreme excitement, or extreme fear, or extreme anger can all be ways that you freak out. In the example, I freaked out when I found out I won the lottery. Again, if you find out that you won the lottery, you're going to have an extreme emotion. You're going to freak out. The idea is that if you freak out, you stop having a normal mind or a normal emotion. Now, the context of freak out is very important. So in this next example, she freaked out when she found out her husband was cheating on her. Of course, if you find out someone is cheating on you, you're going to be extremely angry. You're going to freak out. So, what was the last thing that you freaked out about? Write yours in the comment section below. My example that you can follow. I freaked out when I found out I was going to be a father. What was the last thing that you freaked out about? If you like this video so far, please give it a like and go ahead and hit that subscribe and turn on that notification button. Our next phrasal verb is weird out. Now, weird means something that is not normal. So to weird out is to make someone feel uncomfortable or to make someone feel weird about the situation. In the example, the guy at the bar weirded her out when he wouldn't leave her alone. So, when he was talking to her and he would not leave her alone, he made her feel weird. He weirded her out. Next up is pass out. Pass out means to lose consciousness or to fall asleep. So for example, she passed out in the hot sun. This means that her mind turned off. Her normal mind stopped working. In this context, she loses consciousness when she passes out. We can also pass out, for example, when we drink. He passed out after he drank too many beers. Again, the idea is that he loses consciousness or he falls asleep. Or we can do this in natural ways if we're really tired. For example, after a long day of work, I sometimes pass out while I'm watching TV. Next up, space out or zone out. This means to disconnect from reality or when you are without attention. For example, he spaced out for a few minutes at work. He zoned out at the meeting and didn't hear what his boss said. Again, the idea is that when you space out or zone out, you are lost and not in the present moment. You're not in touch with reality. The fourth reason that we use out is to talk about when something is absent, or when we are without something, or when there's no more of something. We can see this in some of these phrases. For example, I'm out means I'm leaving. Goodbye. I am not staying here. I'm out. Or if you say, I'm out of time, this means there is no more time, that the time has finished. We can see this idea in the phrasal verb run out. To run out means to finish or to not have any more of something. So for example, I hate it when I run out of milk for breakfast. The idea is that I have no more milk when I use it all. I run out of milk. You can use this for anything that you have no more of that you still want to have. For example, I ran out of gas while I was on the highway. This means that my gas tank was empty. I ran out of gas. Or what about this one? Workout. Workout means to exercise. For example, doctors say you should work out at least a few times a week for 30 minutes or more. Now, the idea is that when you work out, you are using all of your energy. And if you work out a lot, you work until there's no more energy. You work out the energy. Or what about this one? Back out. Back out means to not do something that you were originally involved with. So, for example, at the last minute, he backed out from buying the car. This means that his original plan was to buy the car, but at the moment that he was supposed to buy it, he backed out. He decided not to do it. Or we can use it like this. I backed out of the conversation when my friends started arguing. Again, I was a part of that conversation, but when the fight happened, I decided to back out, and I decided not to be involved with that conversation. Now, we can see this idea of being absent when we use the phrasal verb kick out or throw out. Kick out and throw out means to forcefully remove something. So for example, they kicked him out of the bar because he was too drunk. He did not want to leave the bar, but they forced him to leave the bar. They kicked him out. The fifth reason that we use out is to talk about blocking or preventing or excluding something. We can see this in a lot of the phrases that we use without. For example, keep out of my stuff means don't come into my room. Stay out of my room. Or if I say stay out of my business, it means stop asking questions. Stop trying to get inside of my mind and inside of my life. Stay out of my business. Now, we can see this with the basic phrasal verb block out. Block out means to prevent from penetrating or to prevent from entering. For example, these sunglasses block out the UV rays of the sun really well. Or we can use block out like this. Most people block out things they don't want to know about. So they block out things they don't want to hear, or they block out things that they don't want to see. Basically, Block out means to ignore things that you don't want to know about. Cut out. Cut out means to remove something. In this example, he is cutting out a circle in the wood. Now, we can use cut out in our own life, especially when we talk about removing something negative. For example, after I broke up with my girlfriend, I cut her out of my life. This means that I removed her from my phone. I removed her from my social media. I cut her out of my life. But we can use this in a lot of ways. For example, my doctor said I need to cut out sugar from my diet. Basically, this means I need to remove sugar from the things that I eat or from my diet. Phase out. Phase out means to slowly eliminate something step by step. For example, the government is trying to phase out the use of fossil fuels as a source of energy. This is the idea that every year they are using less and less of fossil fuels. They are phasing out fossil fuels. Weed out. Weed out means to eliminate the worst or the weakest of something. So, if you have a garden, there are plants in the garden that you do not want. Those are the weeds in the garden. So you need to remove them. You need to pull them out. You need to weed them out. So in this example, the company is weeding out the unnecessary jobs during the recession. This is the idea that if the garden is the company, they are looking for the positions that they don't need and they are removing them. They are weeding out the worst positions. The sixth reason we use out is to make aware of something or to make public. You can see this in some of these phrases. To pop out is when something is very noticeable. If you wear a bright color shirt, it pops out and people can see you very easily. Or when we say that a company puts out a new product, it means that they make it public so that the public is aware of the new product. We can see this in the phrasal verb stand out. Stand out means to be easily noticed. So in a group of people, everyone is together, but one person, your attention is on them for some reason. Maybe it's the color of their shirt, maybe it's the way they look, but for whatever reason, they stand out. That's the person that you notice. For example, with my bright hair, I usually stand out wherever I go. Again, the idea is that in a big group of people, I'm the person that people notice first because of the color of my hair. I stand out. But we can use this in lots of ways. For example, his work performance stood out compared to his co-workers. This is the idea that compared to his co-workers, his performance is better and it stands out. We also have come out. Come out means to stop hiding or to make known. If things are inside and they come out, now you can see it and now it's public. So we often use this with the news. The news comes out. Here's an example. It came out in the news that the president had an affair in the past. The idea is that this was private information. It was hidden away from the public until it comes out and everyone knows about it. Or you can think of it this way. It is difficult for many people to come out about their sexuality. The idea is that they are keeping that to themselves, keeping it hidden or inside until they feel comfortable and they come out. They tell people that they are homosexual. Here's another one. Point out. Point out means to bring attention to something. So when you point to something, you want people to look at this or be aware of this. So in this example, she pointed out some interesting facts in the discussion that I didn't know about. The idea is that she brings attention to these things. She makes people aware of it when she points them out. All right, the last way that we use out is to describe a final product or the final result of something. If you think about a factory takes in individual materials and then it produces a product. It turns out a product. The idea of turn out is almost to create a product or to create a final result of something. So when we use turn out and an adjective, we're usually describing the final product of something. So for example, how do you think this video turned out? I hope you think it turned out well. The idea is that I put work into this video, and the final result can be described in any way. It turned out so-so, it turned out bad, I hope you don't think that, or it turned out really good. We can use this for all types of products. Anything that we produce can use turn out. For example, the cake didn't turn out exactly how I wanted it to. This is the idea that the cake is not the way I wanted it to be. It did not turn out well. We also use this with the phrasal verb workout. Workout specifically means to have a successful end result. So for example, if your friend says, I'm worried about the future, you can say, don't worry, it's all going to work out fine. The idea is that the end result is going to be good. The end result is going to be okay. Everything will work out. So if you study and you keep watching these videos, I know that your English is going to work out. Alright, so those are the 7 ways, guys, that we use out in our phrasal verbs. See if you can use some of these as examples in the comments below. That's it for today's lesson, guys. Nice job today. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button and you turn on notifications so you can see all the videos that I upload. And check out the next video in the Phrasal Verb Series. Alright guys, that's it. Remember to always use your English brain. See ya.